two, one. What's happening, y'all? We here to do it again. You know what it is. It's the Starchildjr. Stuffs and Thangs podcast. And you see my background back there behind me, right? You see my background. You know, when you talk about the big dogs in this game, then, you know, you got to pull out all the little special stops. So I came with the extra special background today, as you can see, the Grammy salute to Prince, because we're going to talk about that today. I don't know how y'all felt about that, if y'all enjoyed it or what, but I'm going to get into that a little bit, as well as a few other things. You know how it is, the Stuffs and Things podcast, talking about all types of stuffs and things and trying to give you a reason to stay home. You dig it? Because that's the safest place for you to be. And like always, you know, I got to give a... Or if you like. I'm messing up already. Check me out, man. I'm new to this, yo. Y'all got to give me a break. See? All right, here we go. So now this is what I'm going to do. Before we get started on that, you know, I'm trying to get my format together as far as how I'm going to do this show. So I figured I'm going to try to start my shows. If I don't have politics to be the subject of my show, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to at least start this thing off with some kind of Trump watch, because how could you not? You see what I'm saying? So that's what we're going to start today with your man, Mr. Madface. So, where do I begin? This is where I'm going to begin. Hold on, let me light my joint first. Yeah, this cat, I think he's having the best week ever this week. So he begins this week by firing the CDC vaccine head director, the director of BARDA. They reassigned him. They didn't fire him. They reassigned him. But they reassigned him because he didn't want to tote the hydrochloroquine like everybody else in the administration did. He didn't want to be a toady, so he had to be reassigned. So that's how he started his week off. That's how he started. And then he ends his week yesterday. If y'all check that out or not, I mean, the man actually inquired to two doctors, about possibly injecting the human body with disinfectant, y'all. Fucking disinfectant. Yes, he suggested that. And I'm trying to figure out how the doctors resist from calling this man an imbecile, dog, because that's what he is. This man is a fucking imbecile, dog. What the fuck? Yes, he suggested, I said that right. You heard that right. Disinfectant. He disinfectant and UV rays. He's trying to figure out. He's asking the doctors to look into injecting the body with disinfectant and UV rays because of a study that was touted right just before he took the podium. The guy just left the podium touting a study that found that disinfectant killed the virus, but he was talking about on surfaces, mind you, and UV rays killed the viruses, but they were talking about on surfaces. And yeah, he proceeds to ad lib, and you know how he likes to do. He got to go off script, or he likes to just take control of everything, be the center of attention, and act like he's smart. And that was his suggestion, man. He's asking them to look into injecting the human body with disinfectant and UV rays. So for you, this is to you, Mr. Trump, and because I listened to my fans, I had a fan who said it would make her day if I brought some Lysol to the show. So I don't know if y'all can see that or not. Yeah, there you go. That's for you, Mr. Trump. Yeah, don't drink the Lysol, bro. Don't do it. And don't none of y'all do that shit out there listening to that man. This man is silly, man. That's all I can say about that. Y'all make sure you ignore everything he says at the podium, man. Y'all just listen to the professionals. Listen to the scientists, because they're the ones that's gonna save you. This guy here, he don't know what he talking about. Um, But we're gonna move on from him. I don't want to give him too much attention. Um, like I said, we're doing this one. This is gonna be a special show. I wanted to talk about specifically today before I get into the Prince, the Prince tribute. What I wanted to start off talking about. See, a few little events went on this weekend, right? See, we all quarantined at home. I know everybody's starting to get a little bit of cabin fever. Um, Everybody's getting a little cabin fever, and entertainers, they feeling it too. Everybody's feeling it, and entertainers want to keep entertaining. That's what brought you guys this podcast for me, right? So, what all the major networks decided to do, they decided to get together, and they Lady Gaga, actually, she's the one who coordinated this. They got together and they did the One World Together at Home show, where we got a chance to see some of our favorite artists perform from home. And I'm talking about, yeah, I'm talking about, man. It was, you know what? Before I even get into the who's who of artists who graced our presence that night, it was hosted by these guys, the two Jimmys and Steve, two Jimmys and a Steve. You got Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, and Steve Colbert. I actually was on Colbert's show one time, man. It was actually pretty cool. He's a cool cat, and you know, they did all they could to entertain, but they couldn't be but so funny because they're trying to be empathetic to what everybody's going through, and they tried to make it more serious, kind of a. They try. You know how entertainers want to. We all want to do the "we're all in this together" thing, which we are, right? We're all in this together, but sometimes the we're all in this together doesn't always go well, and that's kind of what this One World Together a Home thing ended up being. It ended up kind of being more of a depressing thing. You had some of your most creative dressers in the game. You got a chance to see them in their homeliest, at their homeliest, just kind of performing. You had Gaga, Stevie Wonder, Elton John, Celine Dion, Beyonce made an appearance, just to name a few. You know, um, a few of them they performed. Some of, I mean, some of them just performed just anything, and it was all just kind of off the cuff, and everybody at home, and everybody trying to show you that we're all home together, and again we're all in this together was the point. Um, so my takeaways from this thing, because overall, I thought once it ended, truth be told, I think I felt more depressed than I was before it came on, man. I mean, it was a nice attempt, but it was just kind of dry. Like what I'm noticing about live shows with no audiences, the audiences make a difference, man. So this thing, it was just everything has like this eerie feel to it, and it was like every performance in this thing had that eerie quiet to it. You see what I'm saying? So, but but how about this? Stevie Wonder made an appearance. Stevie is a national treasure. So I don't care what the event is. If you put Stevie Wonder on, Stevie Wonder's gonna always be the highlight. And he was, man. He just got up there and he did him a little quick version of he tributed Bill Withers, so he did a little version of Lean on Me, and he medleyed that into Love's in Need of Love Today. So that was pretty cool. Uh I tell you what, another highlight for me was this one here, and not for reasons that you think. So you got the Rolling Stones. I'm gonna tell you the truth about the Stones. I like the Stones. I give them respect, right? I like the Stones, but they're not one of my favorite rock bands from that era. You see what I'm saying? I give them respect though. I like them, but now to watch them do this thing like this at home was pretty cool. Everybody from their own home. And who enjoyed this probably more than I did? They probably did. Because from what I hear, I don't think they really like each other that much. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I might be starting some rumors. I'm not sure. But I don't think they really all get along like that. So this might be something that they might be thinking about, exploring even when the virus is over. You might see them doing that, uh, just for the sake of getting along. I don't know. And then you got this was my this right here. So now this is the thing about it, right? Before I go here on this one. So again, everybody's performing at home. You know, nothing special. Everybody's sitting at their piano or with their guitars and in their studios, and you know, nobody dressed real extravagant for this except Elton John had on. You know, Elton John's going to always be flamboyant, so he dressed up and he was outside in his piano doing his thing. But everybody else just kind of was just chilling in their homeliest, whatever, and nothing special. Play a song and we're all in this together and move on, right? Except there's always somebody who has to do a little bit too much. Always. And at this show, it was J Lo. Did a little bit too much. Now check this out. I rag on J Lo a lot for just one reason. I think J Lo's an incredible actor. She can dance her tail off. You see what I'm saying? She can perform, but her singing gets to me sometimes. I can't lie. So with that said, with that said, we get J Lo. You see the tree. J Lo did a little too much. J Lo had to put on a production, so she has this tree and it's dressed in all these Christmas lights or whatever the case, and she has this big build up, and then her song comes on, perfectly produced, perfect vocals, and you know what? For just to get to the point, she was lip singing. She was lip singing on One World Together at Home while everybody else was sitting on. Even Paul McCartney got up there. Paul McCartney was flat. Paul McCartney had half voice, and I don't even think he gave a damn. You know what I mean? He got it. He just went up there and said, I'm going to get up and do my thing, and I'm old and I'm on. It don't matter what I sound like. But no, J-Lo has to sound perfect even at this, and her need to sound perfect made her look awful, if you ask me, because this was like the most half-hearted lip singing effort I had ever seen. I mean, she didn't even know her song. Like her lips were not up to par with what the track was doing, and the vocals were just too damn perfect. And it's like, J-Lo, like, you could have done karaoke for this, man. You should have just done some. You could have done some karaoke, and you could have sounded any old way, and it would have been all good, baby. Nobody would have gave a damn. Nobody would have been judging you. You know what I'm saying? But see, you did too much, and now guess what? We're judging you. That's what happens when you do too much. So J-Lo got the do too much award, doing too much award at the One World at Home, and that's what the One World at Home thing was, man. This was. It was a nice attempt by some of our favorite artists to keep us entertained and, not let us get too depressed with the cabin fever. But, when it was over for me, I think I had a little more cabin fever than I did before that thing started, man. It was kind of weird, and like I said, I'm missing live audiences, man. And, this thing just ended up kind of being eerie, so I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all for trying, man, but nah, So, with that said, we'll get on to the meat and potatoes of this one now. Yeah, the Let's Go Crazy Grammy Prince salute. This thing here, man, oh my goodness. This was pretty so hold up, wait a minute before I get into that. Yeah, work with me, y'all. I'm slow with this thing. I had to do a special transition before I got into this one. I had to do a special background for this one. You see what I'm saying? Where's that background? Boom. You see that? Hey, that's some dope shit. Yeah, I had to do a special background for this one before I got into this one. So, we'll get into this now. Oh man, this here was fucking dope. You had Maya Rudolph. She was hosting this thing. She did an excellent job, man. I gotta give it to Maya. I'm a fan of Maya. I used to like her on Saturday Night Live. She used to do her thing. She's funny as I don't know what. She's a good host. You know, she doesn't do too much to like take the moment. You know, she does just enough. She keeps you entertained. She gets out the way. She gets in there, entertains, then gets out the way. You know, she's really good. You know, really personable. I like it. So this was a positive that I took from this show. Was Maya Rudolph definitely one of my positives. Um, always, always Auntie Sheila, Sheila E. I mean, what? There's just not enough good things you could say about Miss Sheila, man. Sheila does her thing, man. She was the MD of this thing, and what I noticed, I think this was her band. If I recognize most of the people that were playing, I think this was Sheila's band, who did a lot of the music. So she was the musical director. And shout out to my auntie Lynn Mabry. I seen you up there getting down, Lynn, doing your thing, as always. You know, Lynn is the best. Brides of Funkenstein. You know, P Funk, one of the OGs from of the women. You know, from the funk camp, and still doing her thing. But yeah, but Sheila E. Back to Sheila. Sheila was doing her thing. You know, and Sheila too. She stayed out the way. She didn't do too much. She was involved in everyone's set, but she was a perfect MD. You know, she didn't get in the way. You know, she let everybody kind of do their thing and have their moment. And then when it was time for her to go up and do her thing at the end, you know, she did like Sheila always does. She tore the house down. Um, you also had Gary Clark Jr. So Gary Clark Jr. is somebody that I'm also a fan of. This cat, he's really bluesy, man. If y'all have ever checked him out, coming out of the Texas area, man, and I saw him get up here. Him and her, they did a rendition of "Let's Go Crazy," and then I saw him do another one. The song he did, it escapes me right now, but he did his thing on it, man. Gary, you know, vocally, you know, he's dope, you know, and he handled that Prince stuff well. So you know, shout out to Gary Clark Jr. I really enjoyed him, and I usually do enjoy this cat when I check him out though all the time. He's really dope, man. If y'all don't know about Gary Clark Jr., I'm sure y'all do, but if you don't know about him already, definitely go check him out. He is the man. So now let me get into my ultimate favorite from this one. Bruh, do y'all know about her? If y'all don't know about her already, y'all better get hip. I'm gonna tell you, every time I seen her hit the stage, I just got excited. This girl, she can play the guitar. The girl can sing. I've seen the girl play the piano. Man, this girl is dope. And I said she got up there with Gary Clark Jr. and did let's a rendition of "Let's Go Crazy." I seen her play the little solo. You know, her and Gary, they shared the solo at the end. But I didn't realize that she can shred a little bit too. So when I seen her shredding and you know everything, I was just highly impressed. Y'all need to check this girl out, man. Her is like, I think her is probably the next megastar as far as women go. She's fucking dope, man. She's fucking dope. I give it up to her, and she did her thing that night. So that was about what I took as far as positives from the Prince tribute. Those were my favorites. So now, since we've got into that, I'm gonna get into some of the things that I'm not gonna say I didn't like or that I didn't enjoy, but these are the things that maybe didn't entertain me as much as the other things that I just talked about, or just or just there were just things about these other performances that got to me. So we'll start here. John Legend. I have no problem with John Legend because I'm actually a John Legend fan. Dude can sing his ass off, except for two things. The first thing was they had him singing "Nothing Compares to You," which Prince wrote for Sinead O'Connor. Bruh, I didn't like it. I didn't like his rendition of "Nothing Compares to You." I was not digging it. And again, I'm a John Legend fan. My man can sing, but I was kind of upset when I seen that one. And the other thing about it is, it's just simply, I feel like since we've been quarantined, I feel like I have seen John Legend live everywhere since we've been quarantined. So at that, with that being said, I'm not even so much sure if it was his rendition of "Nothing Compares to You" that got to me, or just the fact that I just was seeing him again. It's like, damn, John Legend, for someone who's supposed to be quarantined, I see you everywhere, my brother. What's going on with that? Um, and then we'll, speaking of other things that, if not got to me, just kind of had me looking at the screen like, huh, this guy, Miguel, another guy I'm a fan of. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. But his rendition of "I Would Die for You," man, who thought of that, man? Like, that was not a Prince rendition of "I Would Die for You." That's not what that was. And then he started his performance. Oh, I don't know what he was doing. I thought he was like doing some yoga or some kata or something, man. I don't know what he had going on. But yeah, I was not feeling his version of "I Would Die for You." And I go either way on Miguel, because some of his songs I actually kind of like, but sometimes when I see him live, I tend to just be like, for some reason it just, something seems to lack for me. But not because I don't think he's an incredible artist. And don't get me wrong, y'all. I think all these artists are incredible. I'm just giving you my takes of what I saw on these certain nights, man, and that's what it was. Um, so speaking of, I'd like to give an honorable mention to Miss Mavis Staples, though. What y'all know about Mavis Staples, man, and the Staples singers, man? What y'all know about Mavis? Well, I know the place, y'all. That's her. That's Miss Mavis Staples. So Mavis, they got her up there singing "Purple Rain." Now, Mavis got to be as old as my boss George Clinton. You know what I'm saying? If not older. I know she up there, man. I'm wondering why they picked that song for Mavis to do. But with that said, Mavis is such a legend, man. Mavis just got up there and she just gave it everything she had. And I don't think she gave too much a damn what nobody thought about her performance, because she's Mavis goddamn Stables. And she went up there and just did her thing like Mavis goddamn Stables. Y'all gonna love it, or you gonna get the fuck on about your business. That's all it is to it. But because Mavis is just such a legend, and I know Prince adored her too, so it was just cool to see her up there just doing her thing, man, and still able to hold it down, man. So that I'll give a nice honorable mention to Mavis Staples, just for being Mavis, man, because Mavis is the shit. You know what I'm saying? She's gonna always be the shit. And other than that, who else did I see at this thing? We seen. I saw Beck. Beck did a pretty good job. We watched Foo Fighters. The Foo Fighters. Um, another treat for me. I didn't even get a picture of her, but another treat for me, man. I always been kind of had a thing when I was a little kid for Susanna Hoffs. So in the Bengals, man. It was really cool to see her come up there and do Manic Monday, man. You know what I mean? Another song that Prince wrote, you know. And so another thing about this that I will leave with, I will leave you with on this one. I don't understand why everyone acts like Prince only had Purple Rain. Like that's the only album that he ever made. You know what I'm saying? Like, Prince has a catalog that is so deep. There's so many songs in his catalog and so many eras that we could have dove into. And they just made the whole thing a Purple Rain tribute, is essentially what it was. And when they do that with Prince, you don't ever get a chance to really get into the meat of what this man's catalog is, man. This dude is legend, dog. Dude is legend. Like, I work for a cat who has an extensive catalog. You know what I mean? And who has been in the game. I work for a cat who has an extensive catalog and has been in the game since like the late '60s. You see what I'm saying? And with that said, I know Prince came on the scene in the late '70s, and he's probably got a catalog deeper than my boss, because this man was a fucking genius, man. He was like a mad scientist. He played all these instruments. I mean, he played everything. I think he inspires me because I'm sitting here all the time trying to play all my own instruments. And, sometimes cats had to tell me, man, why don't you send that to somebody else? You know what I mean? But, I feel that. I have like this passion and this obsession for everything to be the way that I hear it. You see what I'm saying? And to be able to pick the instruments up and to be able to do that with no problem, you know, that that is fucking genius, man. And like I said, with that extensive catalog and with his body of work, and if you've ever seen him live, his stature as an entertainer, what I mean, Prince is gonna always be, 30, 40 years from now. I don't think there still will ever be a comparison to Michael Jackson or Prince. You know what I mean? So with that said, man, it was a valiant homage that they paid to Prince. Even though everything wasn't all as good as it could have been, what I mean, it was a valiant fucking effort, man, and they did their thing, man. So I give it to them, man. So and that was my take on the Prince, the Let's Go Crazy Prince Grammys tribute. I thought it was pretty dope overall, and I seen some of my favorite artists. It was all over the place in some places, and some songs weren't all that good, but. That's at all these homage shows at this point. I realize, man, it's like nobody's ever gonna play these songs like how the originals played them. So, I guess we just that's something that we probably just need to just kind of start learning to live with, and stop always expecting these cats to sound like these cats that they doing tributes for, man. You can't expect that. It's nothing like the original. You know, Coming from someone who's trying to walk in the footsteps of an OG who blazed trails in this game. Trust me when I tell you, it's nothing like the original. You never get as genuine as the OGs. So that's what it was, man. And with that said, I think that does it for my Prince tribute. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back to my original. Bang! Check that out. Yeah, I'm starting to get the hang of this thing. I'm starting to get the hang of it. And let's see, I still got about 10 minutes, and I got another joint rolled up. Hold up, let me light my other joint. Because I got one more little thing for y'all. One more thing that I watched over the week that I think a lot of y'all probably watched too. I don't know. I might lose some of the women on this one. If y'all not into sports, then I might lose y'all on this one. But I don't know. If y'all Michael Jordan fans, who knows? Maybe you might want to stick around. But for my home stretch, um, you know what I watched last weekend that I fucking couldn't wait until this shit came on. And I'm sure a lot of y'all felt the same way. If y'all lived the Jordan era, the Chicago Bulls era of the 90s, I know y'all couldn't wait for this shit either, man. And I know a lot of y'all was glued to the TV to see this shit. Did y'all see The Last Dance, the first two episodes? This is a 10-part series that they're doing. They released it early just because they know, we need something to distract us from Corona hell. And since they can't give us any sports right now, ESPN decided to go ahead and drop this early, The Last Dance, and I'm so happy that they did. I love y'all for it, man. I couldn't wait. So I'm gonna start off with this though. The cover. I love Steve Kerr. What is he doing up here? Why is Steve Kerr on this cover? I have no idea. You know what I'm saying? I saw somewhere on social media where somebody said the same thing, but what they said was like, they said, "What is Steve Kerr doing on that cover?" They said Tony Kukoc is somewhere mad as hell right now. I agree. I love you, Steve Kerr, but you ain't supposed to be on the cover of this thing. But that's that. But they gave us 2 episodes, man. They gave us 2 episodes of The Last Dance, and so this whole thing is kind of focused on this here focuses on the last days of actually the last year of the Chicago Bulls dynasty run. So if y'all were alive or young like I was and a Michael Jordan fan in the 90s, the Bulls won 6 championships in 8 years, 2 3-peats. At the end, when they won the 5th championship, this documentary focuses on them going into the last championship, and the focus of it the focus is, if you guys remember, the VP, the player personnel VP was named Jerry Krause. Jerry Krause at the time, by the time they had won 5 championships, had apparently had his fill of hearing about Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman, and how great they were, and not hearing his name. It's like something like another Jerry over in Dallas. Apparently this Jerry Krause wasn't getting enough credit, and he couldn't take it anymore. So as they won their 5th championship, he was already in the midst of trying to replace Phil Jackson before they had won the 5th championship. Actually, I think it was 95, 96 I saw on that show that he first started to court Tim Floyd, who replaced Phil Jackson when they eventually did break that dynasty up, right? So this is what this focuses on. So apparently Jerry Krause was trying to replace Phil Jackson, but how can you replace the coach who's winning you championships every year? So that's kind of hard, right? So with that said, after that 5th championship, Phil Jackson was a free agent. So now Jerry Reinsdorf, who was the owner, tried to stay out of it, but good senses, good heads prevail. He let his cool head prevail. His better senses prevailed, and he went and re-signed Phil Jackson for 1 more year for that last year. So Jerry Krause was a little upset, and he made sure that he let Phil Jackson know that was going to be his last year. He said he told him, and I quote, "I don't care if you go 82-0, this is your last season." So this whole series culminates around the turmoil. Well, I'm not going to say turmoil because they won a championship, but this kind of culminates around the pressure cooker that it was even earning that championship in the midst of all of these salty feelings, because you have Jerry wanting to push Phil out, and Michael and Scotty are kind of pissed about that. And then you also got Scotty. We'll get to that. So I must talk about the first episode. The first episode essentially focuses on a young Michael Jordan. They want to, like any good documentary, they have to give you some backstory on the stars, right? So, of course, Michael Jordan was the star of the team, and he was the star of the world in this day. He was probably the biggest star in the world, literally. So this first episode actually gives you a walk back, way back, even back. It kind of takes you back to even before, like, college. And the highlight of this episode for me was getting a chance to see Michael Jordan that young, because Michael Jordan actually had a country accent, and that shit tripped me out to hear him at, 18, 19, and 20, 21 years old, to know that he had that kind of a goofy accent before the Jordan that we all came to know, I should say. the one that Kobe always tried to imitate. You know, it's hard to believe. Like, what if he'd have kept that country accent? I wonder if Kobe would have imitated that. That could have been hilarious to hear, right? So that's what the first episode kind of just focused on Michael Jordan. The second episode takes you to Scottie Pippen. So now Scottie Pippen was carrying this baggage into the next season. Scottie Pippen um, had signed a contract in '91 that quickly be, that quickly undervalued itself because of the revenues that the NBA came to gain in the 7 years leading up to that point, and and Jerry Reinsdorf, who was the owner, he says in the series in the episode, he said he has this thing, man. It's like when you sign your contract, he's like, I don't want to hear from you no more. Your contract is your contract. So with that said, now this time Scottie Pippen was probably the second best player in the league. He was second on the team in scoring, second on the team in rebounding, first in assists, you know, first in steals. Um, this cat was like the 122nd highest paid player in the league. So naturally, Scotty was very salty with the fact that they wouldn't boost his contract because he was most definitely playing outside of his value, and he was kind of pissed about it. So what Scotty had done coming into this season, he had injured himself in the playoffs prior, and instead of having his surgery after the season, he decided to wait until the beginning of the season to have surgery, which caused him to miss the first 2 months of the season. So, with this said, Michael Jordan is the star of the team. This shit was all of this shit. This whole series is about essentially is about all the pressure that Michael Jordan was under. But you know, Scottie Pippen, uh, Rodman, Phil Jackson, Jerry Krause. These are side notes leading up to this, right? So with that said, Michael Jordan was naturally upset with Scottie Pippen, as was some of the other teammates were upset with Scottie Pippen because they knew what he was doing, but he at this point he's hurting the team, and they thought that he was being pretty selfish, and essentially that's where they left us. And so another thing I thought about trying to do, because the highlight of this episode had nothing to do with basketball, and I actually embedded the video because I wanted to play it for you, but I didn't like how it was playing, and I don't want to make a fool out of myself right now on my show, so I'm not even going to try it. But essentially, the highlight of this show was seeing a rookie Scottie Pippen being bullied and yoked up by Charles Oakley. Charles Oakley slapped him, man. What the fuck? Apparently, Scottie Pippen says he came in talking about he was gonna be better than Michael Jordan and how cocky he was. And Charles Oakley was the enforcer of all enforcers in '90s basketball, man. If y'all watched basketball in the '90s, Charles Oakley, besides rebounding and he could also knock down that mid range jump shot. You know, he would stand on the mid range and jump Jay you down. Besides those two things, what he was most famous for was being in the middle of whatever scrum or melee was going on the court. He usually was the one, either he was in the middle of it or he was usually the one starting it off, because Charles Oakley kicked ass. He didn't give a fuck. He was like the enforcer of all enforcers in the '90s, and he was Jordan's enforcer in Scotty's rookie year in 1987. And like I said, apparently he was the wrong one for Scotty to say he was going to be better than Oakley. Did not like it. So Oakley yoked him up on camera and slapped him, man. It was like, wow. And it lead me to think, man, it's like, what would I do if that was me? Because that's Charles Oakley, man. Oh, trying to tell you, Oakley was the enforcer of all fucking enforcers, man. But a slap is a slap, man. It's like, what the fuck? What do you do? Yeah, man. Scotty, I would not want to be you in that day, man. You know, God bless you, bro. So with that said, that is gonna do it for me this evening, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed this show. I tried to fit a lot of information into this show, and because of that, this show was a pain in the neck to put together, man. So I hope it came off pretty well. Um, we going to get better at this. We going to keep on doing this. So y'all just keep on tuning in. I'm always try to have some good information to share for you guys. And, I'm going to try to keep it fun and, with a K, always, all day. Try to give y'all a reason to stay home. You know what I mean? Because that's what it's about right now. So in the meantime, if you're watching me on my website, thefunkstar.com, you feel free to donate if you'd like, because musicians need money, man, and we ain't making no money right now because they done shut us down. But feel free. There's some merch on my website. Go on and look through that. Get you a T-shirt. Get you one of those cool pillows or one of those mugs or whatever. Feel free. If you're checking me out on YouTube, the website again is thefunkstar.com. I'm gonna pull that up for y'all one more time. Boom. Boom. Vice versa. Subscribe on YouTube, then go to the website and subscribe. We'll be dropping newsletters. You don't want to miss out on nothing that I got going on, man. I got a single that I will be dropping in May, and it's called Cabin Fever. Check that out. That will be a single from my upcoming record, Pandemic, because that's what I've been doing in my off time, y'all. I've been trying to put a podcast together and making music. That's all I got to do. You know what I mean? So y'all be on the lookout for that and go subscribe to both of those places so that you don't miss out. And I will see you cats next week at the same time on the same day. Y'all keep it funky. Y'all keep it fun with a K. And y'all keep it inside. Wash your hands. Love y'all. Let love lead the way.